And there is no doubt that we're producing enough energy from a renewable source like the sun or even the wind that will be able to power us. The biggest issue is that we don't have a way of storing that energy right now that's economically viable. There are batteries out there. Tesla is one of the companies that are making some of these bigger grid batteries. They just don't have the storage capacity to get us where we need to go. And so that causes some bottlenecks on how we produce the energy that we need. And until that technology catches up, I think that's going to be a struggle for us to really move towards that renewable energy sufficiency that we really want, as a nation and as a world. And so we're just not there yet. It doesn't mean it won't be in a few years. The rate of change in technology, as we've seen with semiconductor chips, is just astounding. And some of the same laws apply. All that to say, there's a lot of energy that's out there that's being created. Unfortunately, we're not at a point where the renewable energy is where we want it to be. And that's kind of where the carbon credits start to come into play. Because what happens with the carbon credits, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but companies that want to create maybe greener sources of energy as well as greener sources of economics are creating green bonds that they are selling to companies that maybe aren't producing as much carbon. They're maybe producing more carbon credits that they want, and then they kind of use that as an offset to try to help create more opportunities for those companies. And if I'm speaking incorrectly, tell me.
It's like two-part. So the carbon credits is the thing that is bought and sold. So if I'm like an Exxon and I'm very dirty, and there's another company who's basically able to be a net positive to carbon instead of negative. So an example would be like if you're planting a bunch of trees and you're able to capture the carbon, then you're like carbon positive. Okay. You're helping the environment. So the government will give you the carbon credits, and then you can sell those to Exxon, and then Exxon can make their account whole. The second part of it is the green bonds, which is companies they have a certain carbon score. They're able to get cheaper access to the bond market, which makes it easier for them to grow because they have this cheaper source of capital. Those are kind of the two big themes that, if I remember correctly from our conversation with Marin, could provide a lot of investment opportunities if you know where to look. I know for me personally, I stick to what's established and what I can see, when it comes to companies with stable cash flows, and something that's very much in its infancy is hard to predict for anybody. So for me, I stick to the more established free cash flow generating companies, and I have no special insight into those in the early innings.
Yeah, I don't either, really. I know that in my readings of different companies and whatnot, I am coming across different companies that are maybe mentioning that they have green bonds available. I know Google was one of the companies recently that talked about a green bond issuance. And
Bank of America too, believe it or not.
Yeah. Bank of America. I would bet a lot of money that Microsoft has probably embraced that idea as well. I don't know. I don't have any hard facts on that. This is speculation based on what I know about the company. But I know that Google and Bank of America are two for sure. And I would think that if you did a little Google research, you would probably be able to find some resources out there that would talk more about that extensively.
I know this is something we've discussed before too, not on the air, but there is some of that's kind of being pulled back as government spending gets shifted. So there is an additional risk that just because companies are free access to, if you want to call it carbon credit capital, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen in the future. So you do have to tread carefully.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to knowing what you own and knowing what you're buying. And it's a little bit like, because some of this is in early innings, I'm not saying that all of the companies out there are doing this, but you want to do a little research before you actually put your hard-earned money behind something that may not be what you believe in, because there would be nothing worse than a company that's promoting some sort of carbon emission reductions or carbon credits or a green bond, and it turns out that they're not embracing that idea. Given that we're talking about Wall Street, you wouldn't be surprised if there's a shady character or two out there trying to take advantage of a situation like that. Again, it comes back to knowing what you own and doing a little research to ensure that what you are buying is the same. It kind of goes the same with the ESG ETFs that have been such the rage. You want to make sure that you're not buying an ESG ETF. The top 5 companies are BP, Exxon, Mobil,
Home
and
Depot.
Home Depot or something, that just are completely against everything that you're trying to invest in. So they're great ideas. And Marin was very bullish on the whole idea, and he wrote a great book about it, as well as the podcast are great resources to learn more about it if that's something you're interested in. And he thinks it's going to be one of the more profitable trades that you could embrace over the next few years. So it's definitely something that if you're interested in to learn more about it, check out that episode with Marin.